Alright, so today I want to let you know that I can actually ship my ball pythons again through FedEx. Pretty exciting. It's been quite a few months since I've been able to ship. I actually ship my snakes through shipyourreptiles.com, and when the whole pandemic hit and the FedEx system got backed up, they had big warnings over there that said you can ship, but ship at your own risk, and they took off the insurance and the live arrival guarantee, and they said there was delays of 48 hours or more on some of your shipments. So it kind of freaked me out. As a matter of fact, I think I have about 10 ball pythons here that some of them are completely paid off and we're just kind of waiting on shipping, and some of them, you know, people have been making payments on them over the last few months, and finally we got to the point where I actually went over there and they said there's some restrictions. It looks like we can ship on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ship out on a Tuesday, and essentially what I do is I ship in these boxes right here. This is like a reptile shipping box. I actually get these over on shipyourreptiles.com, and I buy whole cartons of these. I have multiple sizes. It looks like Bobby wants to jump in the box. Crazy snake. And it's kind of interesting that you have to ship next day air, and it's kind of expensive shipping. If you actually go to shipyourreptiles.com, and I kind of make a deal with them. I say, hey, I'm shipping about 100 snakes a year, and they give me kind of a volume discount over there, which I kind of pass on to some of my customers. So what I want to do today is I want to show you some of the snakes that I'll probably ship out here in the next couple days that I've sold. And one of them is my corn snake. It's the last corn snake that I have here in my collection. I'm pretty much going to stick mostly with ball pythons, and I'll kind of show you some of the other ones that are completely paid off that I'll be shipping out this week. Alright, so take a look at this snake. This is Big Red, and yes, I actually sold Big Red. He is a really big corn snake. Look at how big he is. He's really awesome. And the cool thing I like about Big Red is look at his head, the pattern on his head. He's got a really cool pattern like I've never seen on any snake before. Really awesome looking head. And kind of the interesting story about this is it was about a year after I was doing YouTube, and a lot of people were doing this video of corn snake versus ball python. At the time I was, copying a lot of content. I thought, I could do that, corn snake versus ball python. So I actually went into one of my reptile stores where I knew the guy really well that owns the pet store. And I thought, I'm just going to look for some corn snakes. And the funny thing is he just got this in like the same day, and he had it for sale. And it was a lady's snake. It was her only snake in her whole house, and she just unloaded it. And it was so beautiful and so big. And I didn't really know anything about corn snakes at all. And come to find out, they are really super awesome. Probably the biggest difference between a corn snake and a ball python is a corn snake tends to be a lot more squirrely and just kind of runs a lot compared to a ball python. Ball pythons are a lot more mellow, and this guy's in a pretty mellow mood. Usually he's just really taking off and flying all over the place. Now that I say that, he'll probably start bolting all over the place. It's kind of hard to keep a corn snake on the camera in the lights here, but he's a really awesome snake. And the other difference between a corn snake and a ball python is that a corn snake will absolutely eat anything that you give him. This thing will eat like rats and mice, frozen thawed, just back to back to back. As a matter of fact, you can get this guy really obese. I actually got him a little overweight at one point. I had to put him on a diet because he was looking really chunky. He still looks really super thick. Look at how big and chunky he is. And I don't really feed him that much now. Like every couple weeks I've been trying to thin him down. And believe it or not, he'll actually eat a rat about the size of the thickest part of his body, which is pretty amazing that he can actually eat a rat that big looking at his tiny little head. That kind of surprised me that he can get his head around that whole rat the size of his body. But he is a really awesome snake. As a matter of fact, I think I bought this as it was actually sold to me as a blood red, and a lot of people kind of chimed in and said, no, that's not a blood red, that is just a normal corn snake. So I don't know anything about corn snakes, if this is really a blood red or if this has any genes in it or anything, or if this is just kind of like the wild type, but it is a really awesome corn snake. Alright, so here is another one that I'm shipping out. It's almost like giving away my babies, selling snakes. But that's kind of the, there's pros and cons about breeding snakes. You make some really cool stuff, and then you have to actually sell them. And look at how big he's getting since I've been holding him so long from the pandemic. He's almost, I'd say he's probably way oversized to breed. This is actually a male Pastel, 100% head desert ghost. Really beautiful. And kind of the cool thing about this is it has a lot of the bright yellow. I think that that is from. As a matter of fact, this one almost looks, I was thinking maybe it could have Enchi in it because my Desert Ghost actually has Enchi. Maybe, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. So I think this is just a pastel. I don't think there's any Enchi. But sometimes Enchi will really bring out a lot more orange and yellow in the side. But it kind of looks like just a pastel to me with no Enchi. And this is 100% het Desert Ghost. Let me tell you, if you actually produce the pastel Desert Ghost visuals, it is absolutely stunning. Probably one of the most stunning combinations that you can find. As a matter of fact, actually, this kind of has a weird story behind it because I actually was naming all my snakes. I was pulling the names out of the jar that I used to name all my snakes, and I actually had two snakes with the same name, Fluffy. So someone actually, it was one of my viewers that pointed out, I was going through all my hatchlings and I'm like, wait a minute, you have two Fluffies. And then what I did is I renamed this one, instead of Fluffy with a Y, I renamed it Fluffy with an E. So this is the other version, the E version of Fluffy, just spelled a little bit different. Really awesome snake, and it's always hard to, you know, to get rid of my snakes, but I definitely need the rack space for all the stuff I'm hatching out this year that I'm thinking of holding back. As a matter of fact, I actually moved this one up from a hatchling tub into an ARS 5040 grow out tub. Look at how big that snake is. Really super hefty. And these snakes are doing really well, eating really well still, even though it looks like he's probably coming up on, I haven't actually weighed him, but I'm thinking he's maybe 600, 700 grams. Really pretty chunky for, you know, kind of like, this was actually kind of the size of a hatchling when I sold it. And, you know, the whole pandemic, I've been feeding him really well because I have all these rats and mice here in my collection. And it's like, you know, no problem at all that I can hold him and feed him. He's looking really fantastic. All right, so take a look at this beauty. This is Sunshine. We named this one Sunshine. This one's actually a spider, the very controversial spider. A lot of people say they don't breed spiders because of the potential head wobble. And let me tell you, all the spiders that I produce, the head is super stable on all the spiders. And look at how big he's gotten, really big and lanky. And look at how bright gold and awesome the spiders can be. It's pretty awesome. And this one actually has quite a bit of white coming up the sides. Really amazing looking spider. As a matter of fact, I actually produced this breeding spider pied visual to my 100% het caramel albino. So this is a spider, 100% het pied, 50% het caramel albino. And this is a male, so you could like breed this to a pied and half the offspring would come out as pieds or spider pieds, which is really amazing. You can actually, there's a 50% chance that this has the caramel albino gene in there. When you mix spider with some of the albinos, you can make some really amazing combinations. And just to look how gold that is, super bright gold on this thing. I'd say between the spiders and the pinstripes, they're definitely two of my favorite genes just because of how bright gold they are. And some people kind of give the spider a bad name because of the head wobble. And I'd say, you know, as far as the head wobble is concerned, there's a lot of genetic defects in ball pythons. Like the champagne has, I'd say the champagne probably has worse of a head wobble than your spiders. And then you have the super spot nose, which can have the head wobble. And then of course with your like your super cinnamon, super black pastels, they can have kinking and, you know, the duck billing and all that. So a lot of these genes, you know, there's a small percentage in some cases that they'll have, you know, some genetic anomalies. But I'd say as far as the spider, there's a few of them out there that have really bad head wobbles that kind of give the spiders a bad name. And I'd say most of the spiders that pretty much all the ones that I produce and most of the ones that I've seen are perfectly fine without any head wobble at all. And let me tell you, they can be really spectacular genes if you actually work with them and really understand the gene. Pretty amazing. So here is the last one actually. So this is Cobra, and Cobra is another spider, 100% het pied, 50% het caramel albino. As a matter of fact, when I go to the show, a lot of people come up to my table and they're like, hey, where's all the spiders? Because a lot of people are getting out of spiders, and I produce just a few every now and then. As a matter of fact, I didn't produce any spiders this year, probably won't produce any next year, but you know, just a few here and there. A lot of people are looking for spiders and they really can't find them because a lot of people don't produce them. So I'd say, you know, as far as breeding spiders, I like to produce them kind of on a limited amount, and there is a demand for spiders, which is pretty cool. And this guy looks like he's going into shed just a little bit, not quite as bright as the other one, but let me tell you, after they shed out, they can be really spectacular. And kind of the cool thing I like about spiders is the head stamp on the top of the head, the crazy pattern, which is kind of associated with a lot of spiders. And sometimes you can actually get like a high white or a low white amount of white coming up the sides. I say both of these are pretty high white spiders with quite a bit of that like calico look coming up the sides. And this is just one gene, so if you actually bred this to something else, half the offspring would come out as spiders. Really awesome. Look at how big they're getting. Really spectacular ball pythons. All right, so there you have it. That is pretty exciting. So the live arrival guarantee and the insurance are both turned out, but there are some regulations. You have to ship from a FedEx ship center to a FedEx ship center, so you can't ship to a residential. And they say you should ship on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Of course, it has to be next day air through FedEx. And I was kind of nervous about shipping some of my new hatchlings without the live arrival guarantee turned on. So luckily, it actually came on. It's perfect timing because I have some hatchlings that should be ready here probably in another week or two that I'll be able to start shipping out, which is pretty exciting. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.